Good morning. Can you hear me okay? Great. My family went to an Episcopal church many years ago, and there was something that they always said at the beginning of the sermon that I really appreciated. So, may the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable unto you. In 2004, the Midland community had a juvenile delinquency problem. The local juvenile judge, Judge Allen, was handling more than 1,000 delinquency cases per year. And that's in a community with about 7,000 young people, teenagers, 6th through 12th graders. That means that there was more than a 1 in 10 chance that teens were involved in the juvenile justice system. Lots of kids were participating in substance use, among other things, like violence and vandalism and shoplifting. Fast forward to today. The local juvenile justice system today sees about 100 teens per year. That's a 90% reduction in juvenile delinquency. Fewer than 2 per 100 teens are getting into trouble with the law this year, or today. Not only that, but according to surveys conducted by the Legacy Center every 5 years, youth today participate in fewer unhealthy risk-taking behaviors, the substance use, the violence, the vandalism. Those things have significantly dropped. We didn't wake up one morning and magically find that all of Midland's problems had disappeared, right? So what drove this incredible change? Did a single superhero come along and save the day? Of course not. A few visionary leaders realized that it takes an entire community to change circumstances, and they started a movement around positive youth development. And that will have ripple effects for years to come. In 2005, the Legacy Center's founder, Dick Dolinsky, was trying to understand what makes some kids thrive while others struggle and never meet their potential. The Legacy Center's early staff at that time were researching everything that there was about youth development, and they stumbled upon the 40 Developmental Assets Framework. It's 40 things that kids need to thrive. These are opportunities, they're supports, relationships, character traits, values, and attitudes that kids may experience that benefit them significantly, cumulatively. At that time, about a decade's worth of research had validated that when kids have more developmental assets, they were less likely to engage in risk-taking behaviors and more likely to demonstrate thriving indicators. That seemed like a good place to start. But the thing is, this fledgling little Legacy Center wasn't big enough to have a big influence on its own. Our agency's founders realized that this community needed lots of people all over our community developing our youth. This was a community-sized problem, and it needed a community-sized solution. So over the past 20 years, we have slowly built the case for a movement around positive youth development, moving the needle with local youth about every 5 years, except COVID, but that's a different story. Lots of organizations filled with lots of people who care deeply about young people have collectively influenced the lives of youth in this community for the better. This mission drives most of our work. This is our legacy, a legacy of service that is creating community success. Over time, our agency has grown to incorporate literacy, that's one-on-one tutoring for kids who need help with reading or math. It's individualized instruction for adults who need help with reading math or English as a second language. And we've incorporated substance use prevention and intervention services, helping kids to build skills to overcome peer pressure and work through early substance use issues. By investing time and energy into individual lives, the Legacy Center is creating community success. Because community is made up of individuals with unique gifts, skills, and needs. So I want to share a story about a life changed that in turn changed another life. Brittany was an adult learner with the Legacy Center. When she started working with TLC's adult education staff, she was early in her recovery from substance use disorder. She had low self-esteem and didn't believe in herself. With the help of the Legacy Center's staff, she started working through a financial literacy program. And small successes helped her to begin to believe in herself. As she gained confidence, the staff saw an opportunity for her to tutor a young boy in math. Pouring herself into this little guy filled her cup. She built confidence in herself and began to envision a brighter future. This act of serving another became a turning point for Brittany. She realized her gift of working with people, of empathy, of compassion, and started dreaming of a future as a substance use disorder counselor. What a transformation. She's enrolled in school for this fall, and she intends to bring that dream to life. The Legacy Center benefits from many gifted people like Brittany. Our staff have the gifts of planning, coordinating, strategizing, and teaching. Our volunteers have the gifts of patience, of caring, of time and commitment. Our partners who tackle different community challenges than we do, like the recovery partners who worked with Brittany and got her ready for education, are doing important work in our community as well. You see, none of us have all the gifts. We were never intended to do this life alone. We were never intended to raise kids alone. It literally takes a village. My faith background is Christianity, so when Sarah asked me about reading suggestions for today, the first one that came to mind and I kept thinking about was the scripture about one body with many parts. A community is like that. It's filled with people who are uniquely gifted. Together, we have all the parts that make a community work. The Unitarian Universalist faith tradition encourages people to use those gifts to serve others and make this world a better place. None of us have to do it all. If each of us do our part collectively, then slowly but surely, we will change our community and our world through the ripple effects of service. You have a unique gift that would benefit someone who is as unique and special as you are. And the cool thing about serving others is it's pretty fulfilling. So the other thing I've been thinking about lately is saying yes to things. We're living in a time of self-care and boundary setting. Those are important things. We do need to be able to take time for ourselves and know our limits, but could we be missing out on valuable moments because we're too quick to say no? Because we thought about focusing on ourselves was better than focusing on others. While serving as the Surgeon General in 2024, Dr. Vivek Murthy released a bulletin on the youth mental health crisis. In it, he provided suggestions for actions that youth can take to protect their own mental health. One surprising one was find ways to serve. And he went on to say, volunteering in your community and helping others can be a great way to connect with people, build a sense of purpose, and develop your own self-worth. Helping others when you're the one struggling can seem counterintuitive, but service is a powerful antidote, and it reminds us that we have value to add to the world. It's funny, those things sound a lot like developmental assets to me. So the developmental assets framework doesn't say you have to make earth-shattering changes to what you do. You don't have to drastically add new things or do big things. Day-to-day moments matter. Relationships and connection matter. Showing up matters. So I'd like to share a few say yes moments that I've had recently. So a few weeks ago, my 14-year-old asked me if I would go mountain biking with him in City Forest. I'm 44 years old. I'm not in the best of shape, and there's no way that I can keep up with my very active, very athletic 14-year-old who rides his bike all over town day after day. I told my husband I really didn't want to go. I really didn't want to. I delayed. I said I need to go run an errand, I was hoping maybe he'd find something else to go do at this time. While I was shopping, I came up with all the excuses. I'm tired, I need to work, I have chores that need to get done, etc., etc. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, have you ever had like a flash of words just come through your mind? All of a sudden, out of nowhere, I just thought, say yes. I paused that negative loop of thoughts and I reminded myself that my time with my son is limited. He's 14. I have 4 years left with him in my home. And if I were talking to others, I would tell them to say yes. I would tell them to spend time with their kids, right? I can't be a hypocrite. So I came home and I told him I'd go as long as he paused at every turn to make sure that he did not lose me. I'm so glad I said yes that day. I actually really enjoyed that challenge, even though I was keenly aware of how easily I could go careening over my handlebars if I hit one rock wrong. But I enjoyed being in nature, and I enjoyed watching my son adventure ahead. He would rip-roar ahead of me. He would adventure, and I loved that he would patiently wait for me at every turn to make sure I stayed with him. I didn't regret saying yes that day. It was a small moment. It strengthened our relationship. And it took like 2 hours of my time. It took more time for me to worry about whether I should go with him than it did for us to go do that. Small moments matter in big ways. Small moments are important. Say yes to the small things. But sometimes we might find ourselves compelled to say yes to something larger. Those opportunities matter a lot too. 2 years ago, my son asked me if I would coach his middle school diving team because they didn't have a coach. And without a coach, they didn't have a team. I hadn't been on a diving board in more than 20 years. I didn't have very much coaching experience, just a couple of summers, coaching as an assistant coach. But if not me, this is a rare sport. Not many people are involved with it, especially not ones that have had, actual experience. And it's one where you need to know a little bit to keep kids safe. I reluctantly said yes to coaching my son's boys' dive team. That has grown to include boys and girls dive teams at the middle school level, and it's now something that I truly enjoy. I love the sport. I had forgotten how much I loved it. I love being around a swimming pool. It makes me so happy. And I love watching the kids grow throughout the season. I like watching them try hard things. I like watching them overcome fear and trust me when I challenge them and increase their confidence when they're successful. We actually joke at home that we're not sure who loves it more, the kids or me. So I said yes, and I don't regret that. I said yes to another big thing not too long ago that I don't regret. I had an opportunity to become a tutor. Yeah, I've run the Legacy Center for 7 years. I've worked at the Legacy Center for more than 9. I've never tutored a student. So here I am. We have a 3rd grader on our wait list who's been on the wait list for 15 months. That's 15 months where she's not been getting the help that she needed. That's 15 months where she's fallen further and further behind her peers. She was reading at the 1st percentile for her age. She needed a morning tutor, and that was a big part of the problem. She needed somebody to meet her at 7:45 a.m. So for the last 14 months, twice a week, I meet with her early in the morning. This summer we're meeting at midday, which is way better. But during the school year, 7:45 in the morning, 2 days a week. Some days we're tired, some days we're crabby, some days are tough. But every morning, I see her mastering new skills. In the first 8 months, she moved from the 1st percentile for her age to the 12th percentile. She used to need help with every 2nd, 3rd, or 4th word. on a page of text. Today, she needs help with 2 or 3 words per page, and she can read 5 pages sustained if she's in the right mood. What a return on investment. 2 hours a week, 11 percentile points in growth. But the increased confidence, the brighter future, a life literally changed forever because I give her 2 hours of my week. When opportunity knocks, sometimes we have to set aside our insecurities and just say yes. These are a few of my gifts and the ways in which I insert developmental assets into young people's lives. Some actions are small, hanging out with my son, challenging myself to mountain bike. Some are big, volunteering my time as a tutor, as a coach. Each of those matters. Each one changes lives. When adults, especially when adults who don't have to care, show up for a young person, the impact is huge. It helps them recognize their own value. It helps them build their own self-worth by seeing their worth through your eyes. And when we invest in our youth, we're investing in our whole community, in our community's future. And who knows, those ripple effects may stretch around the world. The work of building a strong community begins with you and I. Each of us carries gifts that are needed. Some of us can teach, some of us offer comfort, some can organize, some can advocate, some can quietly encourage. When these gifts are shared in service of others, they become part of a larger work of creating a community where every child can thrive, every adult can grow, and every person knows that they belong. So I leave you with this. What are your gifts? What could you say yes to that would make an impact on our community? If you need a suggestion, we're always looking for volunteer tutors at the Legacy Center. But wherever you choose to serve, I promise you it's going to be worth it. Thank you.